say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So those are approved 4-0.
And you just heard probably that I added the recording, which I almost forgot again.
Okay. So do you want to walk us through the status of the funds?
Yes, I will. So the one change this time is that I thought we were almost going to be out of assessment funds, but we do have about $20,000 remaining right now because the cotton mill project is not going through with our funding. And that is because that's the Vermont assessment funds require BRELA participation, and they did not want to enter into BRELA. So they're funding, BDCC is funding that work on their own now. If they need cleanup funding, hopefully they'll come back to us. In terms of the other funds, not a lot has changed except for our revolved funds have increased significantly because another loan was recently paid off. That was for the SD Oregon, the original cleanup work there. That was just paid off. So that is why we now have an increase in those funds. And that's it, unless anyone has questions. No? Okay, no questions, Sue.
All right. Thank you. So next on the agenda is the application. The application for the Bellows Falls Bike Project. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So you probably remember that we have funded some assessment work at this project at various phases over the past couple years. And the state has provided some of that funding as well. And now they're applying for cleanup funds to address vapor intrusion issues in the building. And so just to give an overview of some of the considerations in the project selection matrix, which I included with the email. The project is located in the village area. It's a reuse of an existing structure that's considered a contributing building to the National Historic District, and it will use existing infrastructure. It's a nonprofit organization that runs the bike project, and they will retain jobs in an area of lower median incomes, and they will continue to provide bicycles and related services to all residents. And let's see what else. I did also send this project to EPA for their review, and they didn't have any concerns about it as long as a new phase one was developed before the purchase goes through, which Stone is working on. Stone Environmental has been working on this project all along. And they will coordinate the SHPO review as well. So that historic review and the Section 108 review, because it is identified as a contributing building to the historic district. So they have requested a grant of $252,900. I told them that we've typically been improving a grant loan combination at 80-20, 80% grant, 20% loan. We have significant cleanup funds available right now, including our program income. So I guess at this point, if anyone has any questions or would like to talk about their proposal.
So I have a question I'll start with, and I probably should have asked this under the status of the funds, but I see we have hazardous substance RLF grant loans. Then we've got the petroleum, and then we've got the funds that have actually revolved. And then there's the supplemental RLF loan and grant funds.
That's the newer.
EPA as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And no longer broken up into hazardous and petroleum.
Correct. Will this all be coming out of hazardous?
Well, we
Did
don't
we,
have enough grant funds to cover it under the old hazardous.
right?
So we would probably use the supplemental
Hmm.
grant funds. And then we could use program income if we wanted, and we could use, if we require a loan, we would use the old grant as well to use up some of those loan
Okay.
funds.
But this wouldn't be petroleum, even though it's vapor intrusion from a tank, previous tank.
Yeah, no, it's not strictly
It's not.
petroleum. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, I'll make one other comment and then I'll just open it up to other
Uh-huh.
questions. But this has been a nonprofit that's been around for quite some time. I don't know their financials, but I know they're small. And I know that we've done the 80/20, but since we have had funds that have revolved and are a little less restricted, I'd be inclined to offer them something more than an 80/20 because I'm concerned of what that might mean to their small nonprofit. So what I'm saying is, I guess I'd be interested in increasing the amount of grant funding that we put towards this project. So I'll leave it there and I'll let the other committee members, if you've got questions or comments. Ralph?
Um, Sue, Sue Westa,
Yeah.
what could you say a little bit more about the kind of operations that take place there? Is it like a bike shop that also stores bikes and makes them available to people to
Yeah,
use
absolutely. Yes,
to buy?
yeah, and they give them away. They help people fix bikes. They fix bikes themselves, and they do offer trainings for folks
Mhm.
so they can learn how to do that work.
And by offering training, is it in sync with, I don't know, state and federal jobs programs or with Vista or any kind of sort of workforce development?
I do not know that.
I
I
think
mean,
Stephen might have some of these answers. I know he's had a lot of conversations with Bonnie about trying to start a program in Brattleboro. So
Oh, great. Stephen, I see
right.
he has his hand
Yeah,
raised too.
yeah,
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of the Bellows Falls Community Bike Project. They're one of a number of old spokes home models all around the state. Um, you know, they want to keep the skills alive for repairing and refurbishing bikes, and I see them as a community service for people looking for active transportation. I see them as a workforce piece, but also uh, making sure there's an availability of bicycles in the area for people to afford without having to buy new. It's a waste reduction program in so much as it's a transportation program, and they're a real community hub. So I lean more in towards Sue's direction of I want to make sure that they can enjoy this building and really have a shot at turning it into what they need it to be and not get bogged down in additional loans and things. My question to Sue Westa was going to be, do you know of instances in the past where we've given a full grant, and what was that based on? Is there precedent for doing that? That sort of thing.
Yes. And there certainly is. And we did that, I think, 100% grant for, I forget if we did that for the garage project. I would have to pull up those things, but for a couple housing projects, I believe for Red Clover Commons as well. We really only started implementing a loan requirement on every project fairly recently because we're trying to use those funds, which are harder to use.
Gotcha. Thank you. Well, that answers my question, but I think we lost Sue Fillion.
Okay, well, hopefully she'll come back. Anyone else have any more questions while we're waiting for her? So I did talk to Sue a little bit about this earlier, and she was going to suggest, I believe, maybe, I don't know, just a higher grant amount, still requiring a little bit of loan, so they have some skin in the game, like maybe 90-10 or 95-5. If we did 90-10, the grant amount or the loan amount would be $25,000. If we did 95-5, the loan amount would be $12,000. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I think I would be open to 95.5, but I'd be okay with it being 100% too, if we have that and feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
This would come out of the supplemental you said, and that's the balance for the grants is 850,000, if I'm reading that right.
Yes. Yes. And so one thing we could do if we wanted is to contribute our normal 80% from the supplemental and use our program income, our revolved funds for the additional amount, because that's where we have some additional funding right now.
I was going to ask when does that get replenished? That 850,000 for that.
That will not necessarily ever get replenished. That is, what we have in this grant. And if we wanted additional funding, we'd have to draw down enough on our grants and loans and our revolved funds in order to be eligible for additional funding from EPA.
And the revolved amount that will always be here. Like, if we loan it, I guess it says loans or grants. If we give it all away in grants, then it's gone.
Correct. Those revolve funds we can give away as loans or grants right now. And then once that overall grant is closed out, we have even more flexibility of how to use those funds, but we have to use up more of the loan funds first. That's the problem. I would like to close that out, and this struggle is not unique to us. All right, well, maybe Sue can't get back.
I can text her real quick and ask if she's going to be on.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you, Stephen. And if not, we can go ahead because we still have a quorum.
Sue, while we're waiting, just a quick question. In the supplemental, the 850 grants,
Mm-hmm.
does any of that get clawed back at the end of the year? I mean, does some of those
Yeah.
grant quantities get reduced if they're not used?
This funding would not get reduced unless we don't use it at all for a couple years. Then they could reduce it. Yeah.
I see.
And this includes 200,000 almost that was reserved for the Bellows Falls train station, which is yet to be determined if that's moving forward.
Okay.
Because the town is still struggling with that.
So there's some urgency to at least use some of the grant, the supplemental
Yes.
grant.
Yes, it would be good to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's been sitting there a little while now. Yeah, I thought the train station came in right away, and I thought, oh, that's going to happen. And so there will be others right behind it, but then things kind of slowed down.
But the revolved funds are they're the regional commission's property, so to speak. In other words, they can't be removed.
Right, but they still can they still regulate how we use it to a certain extent.
I see. Okay.
Sue says she's having trouble getting a stable connection to join. Continuing.
That's too bad. Yeah. So it was good at first.
Mhm. It looked dark wherever she was.
Yeah. Well,
She was in the
it's dark.
car. She was in the
Yeah.
car. That's what was going on.
In the where?
In her car.
Oh, in her car. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's waiting to meet her kids at school or something. So, all right. Well, I feel like we should still move ahead with this since we've made it this far and we have consensus. We are, a quorum. We don't have to decide for sure the amount that mix, whether it be 100%, 95, whatever, but we could. Oh, maybe she's back here.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. This has not happened before.
Oh boy. Well, we were just having some good discussion about the different options and
Excellent.
whether it should be
I will.
100% or, some other version, 95, 5, 90, 10.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to, disrupt any of those conversations, so that they can continue, and I'll just listen in
I think
unless
we're
anybody wants to make a motion.
right. Did you have any thoughts about the amount, Sue? If we, we don't have to decide that right now is one thing I was saying.
Okay, that's good to know. I would lean either to, if we wanted them to have a little skin in the game, maybe 95.5. Otherwise, I'd probably be okay with 100%
Okay.
grant as well. I guess I'd be curious, Sue, are there other projects there that are in the pipeline for funds as well?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about that too, because the train station is one that still hasn't moved forward in Bellows Falls, so we're waiting on that. And then
Mhm.
we have other assessment projects in the works that should be coming up for cleanup, but we're not there yet either. So it's kind of hard to
Okay.
say.
Yep.
And Sue, are we able to pass a motion that could have multiple pieces to it? Like if we asked you to go and check in with them and say, how would they feel about 95.5? And if they say yes, then
So I've already had that conversation
Oh.
with them, or at least, yeah, I have, and Stone has as well, because they know that we've been requiring 80/20. And even though they asked for 100% grant, they understood the 80/20 and, feel that if they need to do that, they'll do that. They're happy to get what they can.
Can you remind me of like the next step in this process? So we kind of accept it for, something, then Brattleboro Savings and Loan is going to review their ability to take on a loan, correct?
So
and then
yeah,
it goes
first,
to executive committee, or
right, we have to, they will next, if we approve this as eligible, they will come back to us with the Part B application. And then I will send that information, which asks for more financial information, to Brattleboro Savings and Loan for their recommendation. And then it goes to the executive committee for their review. Now, the other thing that's happening timing wise is that they keep postponing their, extending their purchase and sale agreement because of this work. And now they're have that extended until February. They're hoping that they can have an answer on all of this by then, so they can go through with that. And so
Okay.
that would require getting to the executive committee in January.
Okay. So for the purposes of our decision today, it's whether to accept them into the cleanup funding.
Yes.
And then
go on.
And then could we have Brattleboro Savings Loan, and I'm sorry I missed the conversation, but look at a 90-10 or a 95-5 or whatever you all discussed?
We could ask them to do that and give a recommendation on either. I'm not sure. That's not something we usually do, but
Okay,
they
well, then we
might.
don't have to do that.
So if I understand you correctly, you said they are looking to buy the building, so they're going to probably have some debt for that too, right?
Although I think they've raised enough funds
Oh, well,
so that they are not going to have much.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've done a lot of fundraising. So I think that's part of why they were okay with taking on some loan.
do you feel there's any concern with precedent if we had, if before you had not been requiring loans, now we started requiring them, and if we would do 100% or just a smaller loan, is that, putting,
Well, we would just say that because it's a very small nonprofit. And I don't expect that would really be an issue for future projects, but possible.
Then
So
could I?
what's the
Oh,
pleasure of the group? Go ahead, Stephen.
I was gonna just offer to make a motion based on 95.5 and just at least keeping a principle of a mix of loan and grant, but trying to keep the burden to a minimum for them.
I step in that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for 95% grant, 5% loan. That's been seconded. Is there any discussion of that? And please speak up because I can't see you. So hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote if you don't mind, just because I can't see.
Thank you.
So you can. So anyway, we'll do a roll call. So let's start with Stephen.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Ralph.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. So that passes 4-0.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Well, they will be pleased to hear that, I'm sure.
Mhm, mhm.
Yep. And that's, yeah.
Great. Any side updates that you want to give us, Sue?
I don't think I have anything, unless anyone has any questions. A lot of projects moving along, as you can see, if you look at the chart.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious, do you know where the McNeil's phase 2 is at?
I haven't heard from them in a while. They told me they needed additional funding because the drilling was more complicated than they thought. But then I never heard anything else, and I haven't received any invoices or anything.
Okay, just curious because I saw it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while on that. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
I should reach out to them soon.
All right. Is there any public comment? Assuming no. All right. And I guess since we've completed all the business, I can adjourn the meeting at 4:27.
Good job, everyone.
Unless you want a motion in a second.
No, I think that's fine.
Robert's call rules. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good
Have a
evening.
nice holiday too.
You too. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.